Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel. Those listening on LinkedIn newsletter, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and so on. This will be one more set of podcasts which will focus on bridging the knowledge between psychology, modern psychology, and Jyotish system, the Vedic astrology. And in this one, I urge you to listen to the whole thing. Only then you will get the import of what it is we are trying to discover here. Okay, we are talking about core values. So, in various modes and functionalities of what would be termed as core values of an individual, I shall evaluate for you in the set of podcasts. This is just the first one of them. We talked about Navamsha. That's why I had to bring Navamsha first to all of you, especially on LinkedIn newsletter, since interest is gathering there. What is the core values? How do we determine core values? Using modern psychological aspects and bridging to Jyotish as well, so that we get a complete holistic view of what it is we are trying to discover. And this is not just a theory, or this is not just, I'm trying to keep it very focused on the practical, grounded aspects, how we can bring this to the younger generation. Okay, that's my entire focus. I don't want to make it a theoretical exercise, not an intellectual exercise. This is grounded in practicality. So, back in 2016, I started developing this. Okay. And so there are aspects of us which are external in the world, how we show up in the world. That is your natal chart in Jyotish. And there are internal aspects or Navamsha which kick in after the age of 30 in all of us. So what are the parameters we are measuring when we say core values? And I shall do a next screen share of the Excel worksheet, which you can use by yourself to determine also. First, let us see the principles. What are we trying to determine here? External status, external responsibility, external action, external cause, and external creation. This is your external face, your personality, so to speak. Then comes the internal parts of the same thing. Internal status, internal responsibility, internal action, internal cause, and internal creation. So I will evaluate on these aspects, totally 10 aspects in all. And we shall consider natal chart placements and Navamsha chart placements. Now I have to do a screen share, otherwise you'll not understand anything of what I'm talking about. So next is my screen share. So on your screen right now, you can see the Excel worksheet. I shall leave a link directly on my Google Drive to this. You can download this and work it yourself. This can also be a self-help. This can also be an investigation if you're a mainstream counselor, psychologist, etc. So this Excel worksheet basically is taken off a good source, reliable source on the internet. These column, the central column you see over here, core values, are a set of 100 value systems if you scroll through, which will give you what it is you're looking for, what resounds with you the most. Okay. So there are totally 100 of them, right from A to Z in alphabetical order, which says, what is it we are trying to measure? We are trying to measure 100 parameters. So kind of go slow on this. I urge you not to rush through this whole thing. It's quite deep and it's quite revealing, you might say. Okay. So first is the core values which are listed over here. There are totally 100 core values we work for as humans. And the category of external, internal, you don't have to bother with these columns. Okay. This is all merged and matched and all that. See, external plus status gives external status and so on. So this is the way it is mapped. External and internal status, responsibility, action, cause, creation. And all you have to do is focus when you download this Excel sheet on this answers column. You have to rate each one on a scale of 1 to 10. I've just done a sample here. Be very careful how you rate yourself. Don't give full marks to everything. No, this is not a competition. Okay. This is for you to understand your core values. What makes sense to you? And it's a scale. It's not a black and white. It is not a yes and no answer. So 1 to 10 we have evaluated. Colors will change by themselves. Ignore all those other things. You have to focus only on giving yourself scale of 1 to 10 against each one of these core values where you stand. Suppose I say accountability matters to me a lot. That is 10 marks. Give yourself 0 generally wherever you find and no value attachment. That's the important thing. The instructions for use are here, which says give yourself 0 generously. If these values you do not normally consider for yourself, try and avoid scaling every value evenly. Okay? Because we want to get to the core. And all these things are calculated. These values and focus areas, everything is calculated. There are pie charts and so on. Okay. So in terms of planets, in terms of Jyotish, what does this mean? Your external world, external status is dominantly Sun in your natal chart. This pie chart is fully for your natal chart. External status being Sun, external responsibility being Saturn, external action being Mars, external cause being Rahu or the north node of the moon, external creation being Venus. And what are the descriptions here? See the listed ones. External status is that which the self gets from the outside world. Your status in the world, that's the Sun in your natal. External responsibility, that which the self holds responsible to in the external world, that's Saturn. External action, that which the self takes action in the outside world, that's your Mars. External cause, that which is caused by external world to drive the self, that is your Rahu. Invariably, I've seen in every chart. Your external creation, that which is created by the self in the external world, is Venus. Now, Venus is the only thing common between external and internal creations. You create essentially Venus on this earth plane. So the internal status, that which the self gets from within, is Moon in your Navamsha. Internal parts, all of these planets shown, is only your Navamsha, by the way. Internal responsibility is your Jupiter, whatever you hold accountable. That which the self holds responsible to itself. It's a very highly internalized planet, Jupiter. Doesn't show in the external world. External world only sees your face. Internal world is your Jupiter. Internal action is shown by Mercury, your intellect, which is hidden. Jupiter, Mercury, quite hidden. That by virtue of which the self takes action in the outside world, caused from within. Ketu, once again, is a very internal point. Internal cause is Ketu. See where Ketu is placed in your Navamsha. That is what is driving yourself in the external world, which will become dominant after you cross the age of 30. Internal creation, that which is created as value. Remember, second house Venus, I've spoken of Venus as your value system. Okay. So keep this background in mind. I shall keep these 2 introductory slides in every podcast. And the rest of it is a voiceover. Have patience, listen, understand, leave your comments if you find something else, if you're mainstream. If this appears on the LinkedIn newsletter and if it is cut short because the platform only allows me 15 minutes, okay, I can't pack the whole thing in 15 minutes. I won't be doing any justice to it. Entire video is on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube. Even the people listening on Apple and Spotify and other podcast channels. Listen in now.
Core values, external status versus internal status, from natal to Navamsha. Let me slow this down and speak to you directly because this is not just astrology theory. This is lived psychology. When I look at a chart through the core values lens, I am not asking what happens in your life. I'm asking something far more revealing. What do you consider important enough to organize your entire life around? And more importantly, does what you chase outside match what you need inside? That question is where natal D1 and Navamsha D9 quietly disagree and where most inner conflict is born. External status versus internal status, the starting point. Your external status is the version of you that stands in the world. Your internal status is the version of you that you must live with when nobody is watching. In Jyotish language, this difference becomes crystal clear when you separate natal from Navamsha. Natal shows me what you project, what you prioritize publicly, what you think will give you validation, security, and position. Navamsha shows me what you actually need, what your inner conscience answers to, what matures after experience, time, and relationship realities. Many people build their entire life feeding the natal chart and then feel strangely hollow by their mid-30s. That's not failure. That's the Navamsha finally asking to be heard. External status as a core value. How natal works. External status is not just fame or power. It is how you define, I am doing well in the outer world. In natal, status is shaped by the planet that seeks recognition, the sign it operates through, the house where it performs. Let's say, for example, a person has a status-oriented planet in a fire sign in Natal. Externally, this person learns early in life. I matter when I am visible, when I lead, when I am noticed. If that planet sits in a public house, the lesson becomes louder. I am only valuable when I am producing, achieving, or being acknowledged. So the external core value becomes achievement as identity, and for a long time, this works. Internal status as a core value. How Navamsha rewrites the script. Now, Navamsha enters quietly, and it does not care what impressed the world. Internal status is about emotional safety, inner dignity, psychological peace, the feeling of I am okay being me. Here's where things get interesting. That same planet which chased recognition in Natal now lands in a very different sign in Navamsha. For instance, Natal says, be bold, lead, take space. Navamsha says, feel safe, be emotionally held, move gently. So internally, the person starts realizing, I don't feel successful just because I'm admired. I feel successful only when my inner world is calm. This is the first major status conflict. Externally driven confidence, internally driven emotional need. If you ignore this, you burn out. If you honor it, your definition of success evolves. How sign shifts change core values. A sign shift between natal and Navamsha does not change who you are. It changes why you do what you do. Let me give you a clean example. Imagine a planet in a practical, achievement-focused sign in natal, shifting to a sensitive inward sign in Navamsha. Externally, the person builds structure, reputation, results internally. The same person needs softness, belonging, emotional rhythm. So life plays out like this. Early life, I must build something solid. Later life, if it costs me my peace, it isn't worth it. Nothing went wrong. The core value simply matured. How random house shifts change priorities. Now let's layer house shifts, because this is where people say, why did my priorities suddenly change? A planet might sit in a highly visible house in Natal and move to a private or relational house in Navamsha. Externally, the person is wired for public contribution, achievement, being seen as capable. Internally, the same energy now wants intimacy, meaning, emotional reciprocity, or even withdrawal and simplification. So the person may look successful on paper and yet feel restless inside. This is why people suddenly change careers without logic, lose interest in applause, prioritize fewer but deeper connections, walk away from paths that once defined them. Navamsha doesn't cancel Natal. It reorders importance. Planet by planet, how the dialogue actually feels inside you. Here's the key insight I want you to sit with. Natal planets speak in the language of should. Navamsha planets speak in the language of can I live with this? So internally, the dialogue sounds like this. I should be doing more, but I feel exhausted. I should want this, but it no longer fulfills me. I worked so hard for this. Why doesn't it feel complete? That is not confusion. That is internal status asking for alignment. The maturity point, when Navamsha takes the mic. Early life rewards natal behavior. Midlife rewards Navamsha alignment. By maturity, the soul asks, is my external status supporting my internal status? Does my outer role nourish my inner values? Or am I living someone else's definition of success? People who listen to this question evolve gracefully. People who ignore it feel trapped in lives they technically won. The real takeaway for you. Your chart is not asking you to abandon ambition. It is asking you to upgrade your definition of success. External status is about position. Taide, internal status is about peace. When Natal and Navamsha begin working together, something rare happens. You stop proving. You start choosing. And that, more than titles, money, or validation, is what real core value alignment feels like.
Sun as external status, Moon as internal status. Examples. Below are 10 clear, rigorous examples showing how Sun in Natal, D1, defines the external status you chase, and how Moon in Navamsha, D9, defines the internal status you need to feel emotionally whole. Read these not as predictions, but as patterns of lived psychology that unfold as life matures. Example 1, Sun in Leo, 10th house, Moon in Cancer, 4th house. Externally, life revolves around leadership, authority, visibility, and recognition. Identity is built through career, reputation, and being seen as capable or important. The person learns early that respect equals worth. Internally, however, emotional safety, peace, family, and a sense of home define success. No amount of applause compensates for emotional unrest. Core tension, public strength versus private vulnerability. Maturity lesson, power without peace feels empty. Example 2, Sun in Capricorn, 6th house, Moon in Pisces, 12th house. Externally, status comes from discipline, hard work, endurance, and proving usefulness under pressure. Life becomes about duty and survival. Internally, the soul craves surrender, rest, spiritual meaning, and emotional release. Over time, relentless struggle drains emotional vitality. Core tension, responsibility versus surrender. Maturity lesson, rest is not weakness, it is survival. Example 3, Sun in Aries, 1st house, Moon in Virgo, 6th house. Externally, identity is built on independence, courage, and action. Status comes from being first, bold, and self-driven. Internally, peace comes only through order, routine, service, and improvement. Chaos creates anxiety rather than excitement. Core tension, speed versus stability. Maturity lesson, efficiency outlives impulse. Example 4, Sun in Libra, 7th house, Moon in Scorpio, 8th house. Externally, worth is measured through relationships, social harmony, approval, and partnership. Being liked becomes central to identity. Internally, emotional security demands depth, honesty, and truth. Superficial peace begins to feel emotionally dishonest. Core tension, harmony versus authenticity. Maturity lesson, true intimacy requires emotional risk. Example 5, Sun in Gemini, 3rd house, Moon in Taurus, 2nd house. Externally, recognition comes from communication, ideas, networking, and staying mentally active. Life feels alive through conversation and movement. Internally, emotional fulfillment depends on stability, routine, material security, and calm. Constant mental stimulation creates restlessness. Core tension, stimulation versus grounding. Maturity lesson, silence builds strength. Example 6, Sun in Sagittarius, 9th house, Moon in Capricorn, 10th house. Externally, status comes from beliefs, ideals, teaching, and being seen as wise or principled. Internally, emotional security depends on structure, achievement, and tangible results. Philosophy alone stops satisfying. Core tension, ideals versus execution. Maturity lesson, wisdom must become responsibility. Example 7 in Taurus, 2nd house, Moon in Aquarius, 11th house. Externally, self-worth is tied to wealth, possessions, voice, and material stability. Internally, fulfillment comes from freedom, innovation, community, and contributing to something larger than self. Core tension, ownership versus purpose. Maturity lesson, what you keep matters less than what you contribute. Example 8, Sun in Scorpio, 8th house, Moon in Libra, 7th house. Externally, power, control, emotional intensity, and influence define status. Strength is built through endurance and secrecy. Internally, emotional peace requires balance, companionship, fairness, and mutual respect. Core tension, control versus connection. Maturity lesson, strength deepens when shared. Example 9, Sun in Virgo, 6th house, Moon in Leo, 5th house. Externally, identity forms through service, correction, usefulness, and problem solving. Internally, the heart needs joy, creativity, recognition, and emotional expression. Core tension, usefulness versus joy. Maturity lesson, service without joy becomes self-erasure. Example 10, Sun in Aquarius, 11th house. Moon in Cancer, 4th house. Externally, recognition comes through innovation, networks, social causes, and collective contribution. Internally, emotional fulfillment depends on belonging, family, intimacy, and emotional roots. Core tension, collective identity versus personal belonging. Maturity lesson, even visionaries need emotional shelter. Core principles to take away. 1. External success does not equal internal fulfillment. The sun may build your reputation, but the moon decides whether life feels worth living. 2. Natal shows what you chase. Navamsha shows what sustains you. Ignoring the moon eventually creates emotional exhaustion, regardless of achievement. 3. Midlife dissatisfaction is often a status mismatch, not failure. It is the inner self asking for a different definition of success. 4. Peace is a form of status, just an internal one. When internal dignity is missing, external validation becomes addictive. Mana 5. Alignment, not compromise, is the goal. True maturity integrates outer ambition with inner emotional truth. When the sun's path and the moon's needs begin to support each other, life stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like a place you can actually live in.